but the opposite could also put Chalky in jeopardy. So pay close attention. Follow along with us, smash.gg/ESS, to figure out how all of the standings will look after this round as we head into game number 1, Priest versus the Rogue. Or the Druid, excuse me.
Yeah, and this matchup, I think, can get quite volatile from both sides. RDU is looking to basically just threat check Reynad very early on and very often throughout those first couple turns. If Reynad can clear that board position, he's usually in a good spot to win based strictly off the value of his remaining cards. If he cannot check that early board position, however, say he runs into Enchanted Raven plus Marka Yashiraj, this damage can really pile up quick and put him in a tough spot for future turns.
Yeah, Aggro Druid, a class or an archetype of Druid that can really punish the Highlander Priest for being too slow, but Highlander Priest has so much removal that it often kind of gets blown out by a single Psychic Scream or a Dragonfire Potion.
Yeah, there's actually some additional removal in Reynad's deck as well. Not only is he going with the Akanai Soul Priest plus Circle of Healing combo, he also has Pint-Sized Potion plus Shadow Word Horror in his list. And so it's very rare recently that you've actually seen both of those inclusions in a particular archetype, but he has clearly focused his lineup towards beating aggressive decks throughout this tournament.
Well, with Pyromancer, Potion of Madness, Power Shield, Coin, there's definitely some room for shenanigans here from Reynad. That's 3 forms of AoE, and if you take a Pint-Sized Potion trade, that should mean you can clear almost everything.
Yeah, it looks like the Dire Moles maybe sitting on board.
Right.
That attack indicates, of course, the Potion of Madness to follow this up. So this is a very strong counter push that Reynad has got going here. The Wild Pyromancer is really playing a twofold effect. You know, does he maybe want a Powered Shield and Coin as well to do this?
Well, the funny thing is that the Potion of Madness actually doesn't do anything. It just does a Whirlwind effect, essentially, right? Because the Coin does 1 damage, and the Potion of Madness just feels
looks
like
good
a Whirlwind.
to me.
It's just funny that you don't get the damage off the Potion of Madness. But Reynad getting a clear here, pretty huge to stop the pressure. And look what he also picked up. Shadow Word Horror, which incidentally is very good against almost everything that Aggro Druid has to offer.
And his hand is looking so good to follow this up. Yeah, he's got card draw option with the Acolyte. He's got the Tar Creeper to mount the defense, and Cabal Talon Priest to punish for RDU not being able to wipe up a board properly.
Is that a pint-sized potion and the Shadow Word Horror? Yeah, that is going to be another full board clear for Reynad.
And RDU is operating on fumes at this point. And this is how this matchup goes. Either Reynad's going to get blown out a lot, or RDU's going to get blown out a lot. It's really very little in between where this style of matchup is concerned.
I like the term that you often use as a feast or famine. It's one of those situations where you either get a huge payoff and overwhelm them with like this board, which is Savage Order, and that's actually a lot of damage on board, or Reynad just crushes the waves. Doesn't even need the pint-sized potion immediately.
Yeah, I will be curious to see how this goes. He wants to maximize his draw, but this is really one of the critical turns of answering everything. And so if he uses his Shadow Word Horror, what that means is living mana is still potentially a very large threat.
Right.
So can he skate this life total a little bit longer, rely on Tar Creeper and chipping away at board to do more of this heavy lifting?
Oh, talk about a story of misconnections. Blood Mage Thanos getting drawn after the Spirit Lash cycle. Tar Creeper still stops 5 damage. Savage Order's worth 10. 10 plus the...
It's 12 right now. After the attack, of course. Yeah.
6, 8, 18, 19 damage.
Yeah, I'm curious how greedy Reynad can get with this. I mean, we've seen him make some very dedicated plays to card advantage in some of the previous rounds, and it looks like it's exactly where he's going to head again.
Yeah, this way he can actually take off a Pirate onto the board.
This is 18 damage on RDU's side right now. Second Savage Roar would win the game. Not that one, though. That is actually quite a dead draw.
Yeah, you know, Reynad did open himself up to this Savage Roar, second Savage Roar, which he's not thinking about the living mana number 1. He's thinking about what happens if I need to face against, like, living mana number 2, perhaps, you know? It's one of those things where he's being... he's trying to close out the future opportunities, but he also gave a small window for RDU at the same time, so that's pretty scary.
Yeah. It's definitely worth the risk, though. I mean, if you think about it from Reynad's perspective, the exact 2 cards from RDU, including the draw, would have to be Savage Roar, Savage Roar. That is insanely unlikely to ever happen. And I personally like his investment into hanging on to Shadowward Harbor, taking the card draw while you can. And
yeah, he's good to go. He's got Pine-Sized Potion and Psychic Scream, so he has 2 layers of AoE. Druid will never be able to amount a real offense, so looks like that's going to do it here. RDU will try. It's not a bad card to draw.
7 mana, 5/5. Just it's not that bad. Yeah, I think it's pretty much wrapped up. RDU he didn't get a sufficient push going, and Wild Pyromancer plus coin was a major hurt to his early game development. Pick your poison.
We talk about Tempo Valen a couple times facetiously. It's not exactly that bad of a situation here.
This is one of the matchups, I think, where it actually has a reasonable use. Well, sometimes. 4+3 is still 7.
Yeah, Shadow Depth on the Quarter Creeper to shut down any possibility of it.
Yeah.
RDU is just going to lock it up. And a pretty decisive Game 1 victory for the Highlander Priest. Aggro Druid not able to get over the hump. And RDU's Aggro Druid has actually been performing pretty well, so I wonder if he's slightly discouraged, or maybe, you know what? It's kind of a tough matchup against Highlander Priest anyways, so might as well wash it and go into the next game.
I will say this is one of the matchups I think that I'm a little bit concerned with his Aggro Druid, because Reynad does not have the slew of aggro decks that RDU's been punishing this whole tournament, it seems like.
Oh, you're right.
Aggro Druid does very well versus the other aggressive decks, and Reynad has brought Jade Druid, he's brought Tempo Rogue, he's brought Highlander Priest, and he's brought Control Warlock, the Cube Warlock, as it's been called. All of these decks tend to operate reasonably versus Aggro Druid, except Tempo Rogue. Tempo Rogue is a deck that often can fall behind to that pressure.
Well, last time RDU played Reynad, he swept Reynad Jade Druid 3-0 very quickly. It was one of the fastest rounds that we had. And then RDU proceeded to have a very good record and lost to Muzzy thereafter. And I think Reynad probably has learned, and we'll see whether or not he's able to adapt at all. Part of it, I believe, because I think that match was showed on stream, was that Reynad was playing a little bit greedy as well.
Yep. It definitely can happen. I mean, Jade Druid can also just be one of those decks, so you don't get the right draws, and you're suffering from ramp and a little bit of inconsistencies, and it just doesn't fall into place. This matchup in particular is one that I've been preaching from the Priest side. I've thought that Priest has often been at a significant advantage in this matchup. And after practicing with Chalky last night, I'm no longer convinced of that. The one difference, though, is that Reynad has a very anti-aggressive Jade Druid list. He's got double Jasper Spellstone. He's got 2 Wraths. He's got Galaka Crawlers. And he's got Tar Creepers. And that is a lot of cards that don't function very well in the Priest matchup. So... And here, the draw issue is also being compounded by the natural 2 Spreading Plagues that you have in basically every single Druid deck. So his early draw is quite weak. He's only got 1 piece of ramp. He's got no draw, and he's got to get some pressure going. If RDU finds the combo of Raza and Anduin somewhere, say one of those pieces buried in his bottom 10 cards, that's really where he can run into trouble. But right now, it's looking like he's got a wealth of time to get to that point.
It's true. However, Reynad also has a lot of time, too, and he's got double Jade Ramp with Aya Blackpaw and then Jade Behemoth. Oof. And I really want to see if you're the Druid Priest drawing cards. Druid just passing.
Yeah. It's not often you think, Gnomish Inventor, that's way better than Kazakus here.
Well, the Kazakus would look for a potion to draw cards.
Yeah.
So you might as well just draw a card.
His hand's too full.
How valuable is his silence right here from the Priest's perspective?
It's pretty darn good, but you look at this spot and you go, well, it could have been with the Kazakus here instead. I think Wild Pyromancer still is operating okay in this matchup as well. The chip damage that Reynad can take also is not really irrelevant. If RDU can get some pressure going and get 5-10 minion damage in, it's a lot easier for him to deliver a killing blow with combo.
There's a Pyromancer Acolyte Silence play. You can even draw 2 more cards by utilizing Coin Power Shield.
And that's exactly where he's going. Oh my, that is a lot of cards.
Yeah, Reynad is what, like 20, 24 cards remaining or so, 23.
And you can just see it in his face. Like,
RDU's at like 18 cards.
This was a disaster turn for Reynad on the chain of sequences that RDU had here. Ooh, he's missing a lot of key pieces right now. The pressure's not there. There's no draw in hand, and he doesn't have Malfurion. So one of the ways that Reynad wins this matchup is he gets to press some aggressive pressure and then utilize like Malfurion and branching paths to just pad armor total. And if that's something he can't do, this can actually get out of hand just from a minion perspective.
Yeah, I mean, RDU has a lot of ways to draw cards with Kazakus and Lyra. So he can even replace his resources out of deck. That, like, a lot of times you think, well, I mean, they can still draw cards, but they might not have substance. But it's like you said. Reynad's about to upgrade his Jasper spell still through natural hero powers. That's the state of the game right now. Oh, gosh. And this is a second Jade idol. He's playing for tempo because he's realizing he probably even won't get to the stage where his Jades can threaten.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with this play at this stage in the game for Reynad. I mean, ideally, you want to have infinite Jade available to you, but he's just not going to get to that point. I think understanding that this is a risk he needs to take to try to deliver some pressure is a very vital moment in the game. If Reynad gets out of this, I think a play like that is likely to have been a factor. But
yeah, and some of those tech cards you're talking about, Galactic Crawler really coming to hurt Reynad in this match specifically.
The 2-3 is a little bit of added pressure at the moment, so you're not terribly unhappy to see it, but.
Needs up to Arcanized Soul Priest, which is definitely a scary proposition because Priest has a lot of ways they can benefit from it, such as Circle of Healing.
Oh my.
Oh man, Psychic Scream is also kind of tempting too. RDU snap calls Circle of Healing though, just realizing that Drew is going to be on 10 mana next turn, trying to minimize the amount of Ultimate Infestation ability.
Yeah, this is a really tough game for Reynad to win. It's just he's out of resources. He's going to have to invest in a branching pass. He's actually behind on board.
Right.
It's just this is a pretty rare circumstance. Dream Potion for RDU as well.
Yeah. Man, if only Vandrel and Branching Paths. You choose both cards, or choose... Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Choose twice cards. Are all of the above.
Getting +1 attack, 6 armor, and drawing a card twice is would be massive. We are still missing that Anduin, though, but there's only 8 cards left in RDU's deck. Make that 6. And still no Anduin. But the thing about it was all those cards he got from that Acolyte of Pain turn and the pressure that he has on board and the fact that Reynad has been lacking major tools. He doesn't have Nourish. There's no Ultimate Infestation. He didn't ramp his Jades super big.
Well, what's so funny is that RDU could actually just win through sheer tempo, like a Valen on board.
Yeah.
Like, he can just pressure through a 7/7.
I think I would be quite surprised if he actually went that route.
Right. He doesn't need to. He just has to inevitably get to Shot Reaper Anduin in the next 4 or 5. Even if Anduin was the 30th card, I would still say that RDU's in a really good spot here. Because he still has the Valen, Mind Blast, Holy Smite with the Radiant Element.
Yeah.
That's so much damage.
Look at this. RDU's going to push.
Certainly an interesting choice. He sees Valen, Smite, and Mind Blast for 14.
He's going for the win next turn.
Yeah. I don't hate it. Reynad has to draw.
And that's the lone
lethal.
copy of Branching Pass in Reynad's deck as well.
Reynad has to gain armor too, but he picked up Ultimate Infestation, important sequencing. That's why we draw first. And now he is safe from Valen, Holy Smite, Mind Blast.
Yeah. Just that combo is 14 damage. Still no Anduin. Bottom 5 cards. I'm curious if Reynad can actually ever get out of this position. The thing that's happening is it's Velen plus Radiant plus Smite plus Mind Blast. So that is...
Right.
That's 32 damage.
32 damage. That's actually the dream, right?
Wow.
Well, Ultimate Infestation can finally get Reynad ahead on board. This is the first time in the game that Reynad's actually been having any kind of semblance of board advantage. And now he's starting to build up his armor count. Alfurion comes in the hand.
Reynad, he might actually be close to getting out of this. Like, if Anduin is quite literally last card, he may still make it there.
Yeah. RDU kind of has to start dumping his cards here. Too many cards in his hand. Finding heal's good. Adds to the burst for
it's
the
36
combo.
now. With the Radiant Elemental, he can cast it for 0 mana. And the Circle of Healing would make it 30 or 40 points of damage.
Healing.
I'm very surprised that RDU chose to cycle that. That's an important moment. I mean, that damage, it keeps adding up.
Now Reynad can start armoring up because he knows that RDU's saving up for the burst.
The Jasper
and Jasper Spellstone coming in huge here.
Wow. I mean, RDU, he's got to draw Anduin very soon, or this is going to get unrecoverable.
Would you have gone for the spiders in this position? Probably not worth it.
Nah.
Oh my gosh! Are you serious? Is Anduin actually the 30th card? I mean, I was kind of not sure about my statement earlier, but he still had the crazy burst. And now Druid's getting out of the burst range.
35, so he can go to 38. I mean, RDU's still got a lot of cards behind this, though. If he can force out some removal, there's a chance that maybe Velen sticks to the board for a turn. That's a pretty disastrous scenario.
And we also we have to remember that Anduin gets a little bit of damage. Oh my gosh!
My gosh!
Anduin can get a little bit of damage in before the burst. Right now, RDU is trying to cycle, see if he can even get to Anduin now. There it is.
Wow. So Reynad at 38, he drops to 36. 36 damage from hand plus 2 at the... No, it's 36 damage is what he has available next turn.
He's just going to force him to have it.
Well, Reynad knows the Psychic Scream's there.
Right. 39. So, for Psychic Scream, just force him to damage you a little bit first. So you Hero Power, Psychic Scream. At this point, I'd be tempted to also throw in a couple of other stuff, too. Like, maybe the Spirit Lash, just to, like, get extra damage into the board.
Yeah, I think RDU still got this. The fact that Reynad, his defensive tools are minions.
I mean, Reynad still has the opportunity to get Branching Pass number 2.
No, it's not in his deck. He only has 1 copy.
Oh, he only has 1?
Yeah. He's taken the defense with Galaka Crawlers and Tar Creepers.
Okay.
His game plan was so fluid. It was just he was lacking so much in the early game. But at the same effect, RDU, Anduin was next to last card. I think this is very well played on both sides, honestly, and really the critical breaking point was RDU being able to draw so many cards in the middle of the game with Acolyte of Pain and Wild Pyromancer.
Man, looking for that Jade Behemoth or something big. Ooh.
Jade Golem.
That's just a War Golem. Wearing green clothes.
That's exactly what it is. And look at this. I believe this is 36 exactly.
Yeah. 2, 6, 10, 20, 24, 20, 32, 36.
Wow.
Absolutely
One
correct.
single damage made a difference in this game.
Well, if he didn't, though, he'd still have lethal because of the following turn.
Yeah, it's the following turns, pick up the rest of this, but that's insane.
Wow.
It just really can't get much closer than that one, man.
Yeah, Priest was almost fatigued. out of resources. Now, granted, Reynad didn't even have a way to deal with the Prophet Valen on board, so even if that ended up happening, there was some follow-up damage from RDU, but boy, did that cut it close. Like, Priest had a pretty fortuitous situation, getting a lot of card draw early, no pressure from the Druid. Druid was hero powering a lot, and it still was that close.
And that's the thing. That's why the pressure from Reynad is actually very important in the matchup. Is he wants a lot of those tools to have to be used from RDU's end so that he can't just cycle them later on and deal massive burst damage. So that he's not free to just draw cards however he wants to draw cards. Instead, has to fend off board pressure. And so having Tar Creepers, Galaka's Crawlers, they're great in the matchup that Reynad has mostly focused on, which is defeating rogue decks. But in matchups like this one, not having an Arcane Tyrant as one of your tempo plays can be very costly.
Some updates from around the Swiss here. Zalay has beaten Amnesiac 3-2. And a couple of the other ones that we're focusing on, Odemian and Muzzy tied at 1 game apiece. Chalky is currently 1-0 over WTY Bill. These are the matches that are definitely worth looking at as we wind down to the final games of the Swiss portion. Rogue versus the Druid, a matchup that, without the coin, I think the Rogue can definitely have a lot of trouble if they don't get that early game board presence.
Well, it's a pretty good starting hand for Reynad. I will be curious to see if he's a big fan of the turn 1 South Sea deckhand play. Not having coin, though, and keeping the SI7 agent, I'm not sure how I feel about this, where on the one hand, Backstab is an incredibly vital card to have in order to really handedly beat this matchup. South Sea deckhand is often filling that role, South Sea captain's often filling that role to some degree. So if he picks up a Firefly, picks up a Swashbuckler, finds a Backstab, I think that Reynad has an incredibly big advantage.
Yeah.
But outside of that, this game's going to be awfully close.
I don't know. Drew the Swarm here is just so insane. A 2-mana 1/5 that just checks everything. Unless... Wait, no, you can't really do much for 2 mana here if you're Reynad. Now, Reynad's not exactly that upset because he still has the double quarter creepers. The more minions that die from it.
Oh,
with that
my.
Backstab. That's really important for Reynad to shut off any kind of Mark of Yasharaj and deny RDU's his coin value.
Was this the turn it should be played is my only thought. He played that right away with SI7 agent hand. If he waits a turn, does he get a little bit more value?
I think he loses if he gets marked the Yasharaj, though.
You think so?
Yeah, because then the SI7 agent can't. It gets contested by the 3/7 or the 3/5 because it trades it to the
That's a hard spot to pick. And this also now opens to just playing SI7 agent. Wow. I mean, getting a 3/3 is also just important in the matchup.
That was interesting, too. RDU had an option to...
wow.
Yeah. Okay, so RDU could have pulled his patches with Bloodsoul Courtier trade, play Firefly, and grab board position, but he chose not to. And now that he's taken a little step back, he actually didn't play into the Galaka Crawler.
This is a big thing to note, too, that Reynad, he chose not to go with Keleseth. Instead, he went with Eviscerate and Galaka Crawler in the 2 slot. Very consistent with the target rogue style of strategy. And at times, this happens to just be better against Druid as well. RDU's about to get a very large board position here.
Yeah.
And we'll see if this is enough to fend it off.
Power of the Wild comes in as a secondary buff here as well. The Mark the Lotus buffs the most minions, and look at this Crypt Lord going nuts. Although, I mean, Galaka Crawler is...
Corridor Creepers as well.
Pretty good.
Oh. Wow. So you crawler the 2/3. Yeah, this is a very straightforward turn from Reynad here. I am curious, is there ever merit to just playing the second Galaka Crawler in this spot just to have some more pressure on board?
I think you'd want to save the Galaka Crawler.
You can see how difficult this matchup can be. I mean, a living mana here would just be so insane for RDU to draw. Just the 2 buffs that he's got in hand, very strong. Especially when he gets a Dire Mold to sit in place of where that Bloodsail Corsair would have been.
Yeah, that's huge. Because now the Bloodsail Corsair has a strong chance of dodging the second Galaka Crawler.
Yeah, does RDU really care about killing the dagger that much?
Yeah,
does
forcing
he
2
feel
mana
like maybe
out of
2
your
minions and a buff is better than 1 minion and 2 buffs?
Well, the Dire Mold being a 3/5 can make a huge difference. Unless RDU wants to split the difference. Dire Mold goes in as well, and Power of Wild only 1 time.
Yeah, I think that one's a little bit weak on board.
It buffs the Crypt Lord a little bit more, though. And it challenges
Is there ever merit for just 3/2s?
Oh, Power of the Wild is a 3/2 and then buff it. Slightly more stats.
Yeah, this is just very good.
Jeez. That Galaka Crawler's insane, though.
That second Galaka Crawler
Yeah.
is playing a massive role in Reynad being able to win this game.
His deck choices are coming through when it matters the most right now. Reynad choosing to replace his Prince Keleseth with 2 mana cards.
Well, now it's another decision point as well. The Eviscerate being able to pick off the Crypt Lord here. I mean, Reynad could get a full clear.
I think he still has some health to play with, though. Oh, yeah. That ends up paying off big time here for Reynad.
Oh, my.
Board dominance. And
That's
RDU
not living mana.
does not pick up living mana, but that's still a nice pickup. Awkward.
Wow.
Man, I got to push that damage, right? You can't just trade.
got to. I mean, trading is not going to be a winning line for RDU at this point. There's just no way.
Yeah, 13 is starting to get to the danger zones. Reynad will have to play trades, but he's more than happy to accommodate.
16 damage of his own to crack back with, too. I mean, he's going to cut into this quite a bit and make sure to, do upkeep number 1, which is take care of the board position. But suddenly he's on the backswing.
Oh! Ouch. He still has one more turn, I think, for living mana, but if he doesn't get it next turn, I think that's going to do it. Seeing that Reynad is now going to start putting a counteroffensive, and he has a Leroy to finish the game even quicker. Karen Bloodhoof, an old yet new card at the same time.
I think this is a full face push here from Reynad. Double Savage Roar would offer RDU 8, 9, 10, 11 damage. And if you push all damage to face and play the Cairn, the Leroy's going to lock it up on the following turn.
No, you're right. I can't think of another way the RDU can get out of that position.
The other thing, too, though, is if Reynad trades over the 2-3 with his 3-4, he pushes 3 to face, dropping to 16. Cairn comes down, and then he's got a dagger to face for 15. RDU goes back up to 16 with hero power, and then he's got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on board plus 6 from hand. So he does have multiple ways to find lethal
if he
lines
trades
here.
over, he still has lethal.
Yeah, this is still a lethal setup.
And RDU is pretty much toast here in this spot. Didn't have a turn to draw living mana.
Wow.
Looks for it. And that's going to wrap it up. Reynad, double Galaka Crawler Viscerate tech to replace Prince Keleseth, paying off big time. And is one game away from making it to the top 4 here, taking down RDU, who has a great tiebreaker. It's going to be massive for his chances to land in the Final 4.
What an end of the year it's been for Reynad.
Well, what a 2017 it's been for Reynad, too. He's, taking a step back from all of his accomplishments as a team owner and kind of doing stuff for the org. He's also played in 2 Hearthstone tournaments, and he's won one of them, being a BlizzCon champion now. As kind of as a joke, but also a very real proud honor to have. And he got 3rd at DreamHack Austin right off of rotation.
Yeah,
what
right.
most people consider to be one of the most skill testing moments in a card game is right off the rotation cycle. So that way you can identify the strengths and weaknesses of a deck and try to pilot things in uncharted territories. And now wrapping up the year by placing top 4 on one of the most stacked fields in North America has to offer.
It's pretty crazy to look at. He's got a lot of, again, pretty unconventional tech choices throughout his lineup, but
and
beating aggressive decks has just been a focus of his lineup. He's not trying to be super greedy. He's trying to punish people for predictable tendencies.
Right. And, what's so, slightly maddening is that he's also just kind of winning life. He was streaming IRL in Sydney, Australia, hanging out, taking Instagrams, going to cool Red Bull concerts and stuff. with one of his best friends in the world, Soma, and he was like surfing and like swimming with dolphins, and then the next week he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna play in a Hearthstone tournament with some of the best that the game has to offer. And that's when, of course, he looks at himself in his handsome Tempestorm jersey, pats himself on the back, wipes his forehead, says, "Still got it."
You really spoiled the whole thing for me when you started talking about all that outside stuff.
I lost you there when I
sunshine
said he went
and great,
outside.
Look, sunshine and great weather is not going to stop me from playing video games, okay, Dan?
Well, the thing about it that what I'm trying to get at is I think a lot of people criticize Reynad a lot, and it's easy for me to say given the fact that he's one of my close friends, and right now I seem extremely biased for him, and I won't hide it. Like, Reynad's definitely a good friend of mine. But a lot of people don't think that he can compete. They think he's more of, a stand-up guy, like a comedy routine for Hearthstone, if anything else. He's not really actually a real competitor. But I think 2017 should remind us that when he steps back in the arena, he's very much a threat. We all know how great RDU is.
Yeah.
He was one step away, one card away from going to Worlds. Points leader in 2016 for the Europe region, often touted, and if not decisively the best region in the world in Hearthstone.
Well, this is a big turn here for Reynad. I really liked his hero power into the Dire Mole early on. He's one armor away from leveling up the Jasper Spellstone to pick that off. And he deviates here with Fandral as a threat to try to get some more power. And it looks like he might actually get a payoff for this here.
Oh.
But this is a lot that RDU has put on board with this Cobalt Scalebane.
Yeah, I mean, you get the Nourish off, but are you dead by then?
Well, here we go. These are going to have to be some
Where's
lightning cards.
No Wrath. Jasper Spellstone hasn't upgraded yet. Jade Idol kind of helps you get a little bit on the board. He chooses to ramp here.
Look how nervous RDU is as well.
I mean, he could have lethal too.
Is he having flashbacks to
the Worlds?
No.
Where at the Spring Championship, he was playing against Colento. Up 2-0. One game away just to get reverse swept.
I count 19 damage this turn.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You don't typically come back from those.
Yeah. Reynad, of course, going to dig deep for a Spreading Plague.
Build your own Ancient of War.
Jeez. Where's a Spellbreaker when you need it? Oh, my goodness gracious. At this point, is Spreading Plague even an out?
Game 5. This is out.
Well, Nourish can draw into the Spreading Plague. And he would have enough mana to play it.
Gosh, the stuff on board is just so big.
Keeps him alive.
Scalebane just does such a good job of compounding the pressure. Like the moment it goes unchecked, it's such a huge turning point in the game.
It's going to look. Oh, just barely gets it.
Wow, he had to overdraw as well to even attempt this. I didn't even realize that.
But
hanging on for dear life.
This is just kind of the same problem as before. Scalebane keeps growing the board. RDU keeps on the pressure. Oh my gosh, that actually might just be lethal.
It's not lethal, but it's a big amount of damage to board.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah, it's not lethal. Forgot Patch is already on the board. Are you trying to be like really cautious, like not to throw this one away?
Still being very careful.
I mean, this one has been wrapped up for quite some time.
He wants to play multiple minions plus Corridor Creeper plus the buff, but he's only getting 2 minions anyway.
Right.
So I don't really think it matters how this pans out for the most part. He ends up clearing the full board, getting Corridor Creeper.
Jeez. Even Patch is getting in on the sword action.
So many times, Aggro Druid just looks like a deck full of 1/2s and 1/1s and then nothing. And then sometimes it looks like this.
Oh. Oh, wow. That actually made it really close. The double swipe. You know, like if he had double swipe, Jasper Spellstone for max damage. Maybe if he had 2 Jasper Spellstones, it would have made that actually decently close. I'm actually surprised by that second swipe draw. Actually, could potentially made something happen.
I actually don't think there's a way Reynad gets out of that game. Even if he chooses to kill the Dire Mole via hero power and another one, the Crypt Lord goes unchecked for a turn, and that leads to the big board position with Cobalt Scalebane. So
Right.
Reynad could have killed the Dire Mole that turn and suffered considerably less damage over the next couple of turns. But would that have actually changed what happened in that game? You know, the Fandral allowed him to unlock Nourish to draw tons of cards. Using the Jasper Spellstone cuts to the damage, but then he's still on the same turn next turn. He just nourishes for mana and hopes that he gets out of it. I think in that game, just overwhelming pressure from RDU was uncheckable from Reynad's deck.
We're tied 2 games apiece. Got some information, by the way.
RDU pitched away Corridor Creeper.
Against Jade Druid? I think that's right. Jade Druid is not known to play a lot of minions early on. They're ramping a ton.
Quite interested by that.
Yeah, I read some aggressive deck mulligan guys, and they're saying like 2 classes that you don't really key Quarter Creep against is Druid and Priest.
That's fair enough.
Warlock sometimes is a candidate, but if you run into Zoo, you kind of regret not keeping it.
This matchup is awfully important for Reynad to have. Some of these cards he does have. Ramping your mana is important in this matchup, but I think actually ramping the Jades is much more important. Because as you step to that late game scenario, you need to go toe-to-toe with what RDU's putting on board. And so if you just have only mana ramp, or you have only Jade ramp, the Jade ramp actually helps keep you on board for a bit and stifle some of the Bone Mare punishes and things like that. In this situation, though, Reynad has Jade Blossom, he's got Jade Spirit, he's got Glock Crawler as one of his techs, Nourish, and Ultimate Infestation, and I think he's going to be in quite a good spot in this game.
Oh man, the greed.
He's done this multiple times too, and I love the sequencing. He takes a little bit of damage now, but what he gets is the Nourish ramp into the Galaka Crawler.
Yeah. It's something that he's done extensively, and it's paid off most of the time. Sometimes it's been disastrous, but I think that's a higher percentage of the time that you end up coming out ahead, and that's what you need to get an edge against some of these players, especially if RDU's caliber.
Look at this. RDU going to start cleaning up the board too.
RDU's going to set up a wide board. Hope for that Scalebane to land on a big target.
Look at this turn. This is massive for Reynad.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's still facing down a considerable amount of pressure, but swing turns are how you change the scope of the game.
But Jasper Spellstone is not big enough, though, to contest the Cobalt Scalebane.
Thinking of some draws. Now, Furion looks great right now.
Furion would be the nuts.
It's not too bad, but Scalebane just does so efficiently contests this card. Is this going to be like a full investment clear here? Like, do you see a double Jasper Spellstone plus a hero power?
I mean, you have Ultimate Infestation, so you can refill your hand.
Wow.
I don't hate it.
Reynad says, this is going to have to be enough. Tank the Scalebane. Use most of my cards.
Yeah. No, we saw what happened when you left Scalebane on the board against the Druid. Spreading Plague is basically moot.
And now RDU, he's going to be moving into Bone Mare territory active, but his reload is quite weak in this scenario.
Yeah, it actually plays into the Spreading Plague.
Exactly. This is getting fairly punished, I would say. You can't risk the damage, can you?
Leroy Shadow Step. If you
Actually, it's Bone Mare.
It's true. Leroy Shadow Step's not even enough mana for next turn. That costs 8 and already be on 7. Yeah, Spreading Plague is the call here. RDU. I've seen that expression before. 2 hands over his mouth with a look of dire concern. Looks like he's going to capitalize on the counter for coin. Twig of the World Tree! You can actually utilize that right now. You can just hero
override
power
it with his dagger.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Have you ever had that happen to you before?
I've never seen that happen.
I have gotten that before where a rogue does that and then next turn just like plays like Bone Mare and just wrecks me on turn 4. You know, it's so dumb.
The turn of truth.
Yeah, this is kind of what Reynad's been waiting for. Ultimate Infestation. Already knew it was coming. And a swipe. And another Galaka Crawler to help him fight back onto the board. But outside of that, Reynad got kind of some weak stuff, you know? Wild growth. I guess. Oh my goodness.
Big draw for RDU.
Wow. You can immediately hero power and play Elven Minstrel.
Slow down, slow down.
Yeah, he almost immediately autopiloted Elven Minstrel. Hero power first. If you want to maximize your damage, you can attack first even. I don't hate it. He's thinking about if there's any value in holding on to the 10 mana for like a big combo, but I think this is the combo.
Yeah, this is the combo.
This is the combo.
Here we go.
That is sweet.
That is unbelievable. Oh, Core Creeper. Oh! The sequencing! Oh no! He just traded minions! Oh, he drew Van Cleef, so I guess he could play that instead.
Well, he could also trade the Bone Mare, too.
Oh, yeah. And 2 more. Yeah. No, he missed an opportunity.
Oh,
to
no,
play.
the sequence. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because he didn't draw first, he couldn't play this Core Creeper and the Van Cleef.
Wow.
That could be huge. Oh, no, RDU kind of realized that.
So Aya, Jade Thing, Galaka Thing?
Or just Aya Swipe. There's 10 power on board. You're at
I like Aya,
19.
Jade Thing, Galaka Thing.
You're staring at 7, 11, 13.
Oh, wait a minute.
14.
What about not Aya? What about like Jade Spirit and then swipe? What about Jade Spirit, Galaka Swipe? Ah, that seems so weak.
The Jade Golems aren't that big, I thought. They're like 3/3s right now, right?
Yeah.
I contest the Van Cleef
This
better.
is tough.
Actually, if you Galaka and Jade Golem and then swipe, that actually is more stats on board. Okay. I like the swipe for sure. Oh, I didn't consider this. The Jade Golem. So 4/4 is bigger than a 3/4. Math checks out.
Oh my gosh. That might do it. I don't know how Reynad's going to kill that.
Wait. Would RDU have lethal if he played the Quarter Creeper last turn?
Yes.
Oh, jeez. There's
what
spreading
does-
plagues. Spreading plagues could help him stall.
He needed that. He needed the Aya power, I think, last turn. Yeah, would he win if he was at 1 instead, though?
Well, Aya is the
No.
combined attack of the Jade Spirit, and the 3/3. And he wouldn't have been able, if he swiped, he wouldn't have been able to play the 4/4. So I think
Fate's going to have to decide this one.
this ended up being okay. Jade Golem.
That's not enough. Just too much big stuff at once. That Bone Mare was such a good draw for RDU.
He needs to stall for another turn. Spreading Plague is his only out here.
So close. Just
Yeah.
not quite there.
Jade Druid becomes the downfall of Reynad again. RDU takes the series against Reynad and punches his ticket, guaranteed the top 4, and denies